There's a good chance you've seen Zoe Lewis appearing on your TV screen since she joined the team at WPSD Local 6 in January. Full disclosure, we've been trying to schedule this interview for weeks. It's hard to find a time because Zoe has really hit the ground running, covering local gun laws, the shifting landscape of senior care in our region, and more. This episode is part of our running series We Live Here, which explores the connections between journalists and the communities they serve. Let's start with Zoe's roots in our region.
I grew up in Benton, Kentucky in Marshall County. So I've lived there my whole life, basically. We used to live out in the boonies. Now we live out in the suburbs, which is really cool. As a kid, I was very curious. I was a bit shy at first, but I grew out of my shell. I would say I was kind of nerdy at some points. I've always been interested in the news. Like, I remember waking up at like 6 or 5 a.m. before school, and I would see Trent Okerson on, which was so cute, which is so cool, especially now since I know Trent, and now like I get to kind of work with him. But no, journalism was never really a first choice. I don't think it was really. I never thought of it as an option. I first, like, my mom was a social worker or is a social worker, so I thought about doing that and pursuing that. But then by my senior year of high school, I was kind of like understanding. I was like, you know what, this makes more sense. I'm very curious. I like to know everything that's happening in my surroundings, and that just kind of made sense to me, and being able to share all of the news to everyone.
So were you, I'm thinking about, as you're kind of developing that, being somebody who grew up watching the news, were there certain kinds of stories that hooked you in? Or is there anything you can kind of look back on and be like, oh, this was where I really started to think about this could be something I do?
So I think I really got into news mainly, like, it was more like political. I feel like that's when I kind of like got to understand more. Or actually, this is probably the better way I got to understand news more. My dad would always put NPR on every time, and he lived in Nashville, so we would have a 2-hour drive, and that's what we would listen to, whether that was Radio Lab, another NPR show. So that's kind of how I got interested into it, and just like those human interest stories were really fun to like hear about, even though those were probably just my dad trying to get me to go to sleep during the car ride. But that's kind of like how I think I started to like be more curious and be like, wow, this is really interesting.
Yeah. So now you work with some of the people that you grew up watching. Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, what's it been like coming to the station and meeting these people on the kind of the other side of the camera?
It's really interesting because, again, I feel like whenever you just like, oh, that's Todd Faulkner, or oh, that's Jen, or Trent Okerson, like they're just kind of like these local celebrities, and then just being able to see them now, like, oh, they're like real people. They're not just like on-air stars or whatever. So it's been kind of funny in a way, and just being like, hey, Todd, I grew up watching you, and he's just like, oh, thanks. So it's been really fun, and they've been really cool to like look up to, and just like kind of see like where they started, and here I am starting with them now.
Talk to me about the importance of local news. Why is it important for people to tune into their local channels?
Yeah, so I think it's so important. Yes, state, national, those are all great ways to get your news, but you're living like, this is where you're living, and you need to understand like what's happening in your city, community, county, what have you. Just because there's probably a lot of things that you don't know that is happening, whether that's at city council, county commission, or just like a little event, and those things affect you as like a local resident. So that's why I think it's super important to know, because sometimes it's like, oh, like, here's a grant that's happening, or like, oh, our water infrastructure isn't that great. So I think local news is so important, and it's just like the base step of news.
Kind of hits you like exactly where you live.
Yes, it does.
Talk to me about your interest as a journalist. What are the kinds of stories you're most excited to cover, and the sort of areas you're most interested to kind of dig into?
So I love looking at legislation. I know some people don't. I don't know why. I just think it's super fascinating just to think like, oh, this one bill could change this many things and improve or negatively affect some people. So I find that really interesting, and being able to talk to legislators and also talk to like locals as well. It's like, hey, this is how this could impact you. Tell me like what your thoughts are. I've always loved legislation. I recently got into loving agriculture, which I've never really been like a big ag girl. I wasn't an FFA. My grandfather, he owns a cattle farm. So I was kind of like, I got to see some of that, but I think those who are in agriculture, they're very real. And that's what I really like about them. They're very straightforward, they're very blunt, and they're like, this is how it is and this is how it's impacting me. And agriculture's, it's blooming here, basically. I would say it's rooted in almost everything in Western Kentucky. So I think it's important to know like how that's impacting local farmers, whether that's locally, nationally, or trickling down from the state. So I like that they're very real, they're very honest. And yeah, that's why I like them a lot.
Folks who are seeing you night after night on TV, right? It's the same way that you have kind of gotten to see behind the scenes with Trent and Todd and Jen and, all these different folks. What would you like people to know about you as they see you kind of like telling their stories night after night?
Well, I would hope that, I'm a friendly face. Like if you saw me at the grocery store, if you wanted to say hello, totally do that. I think that would be really fun, honestly. I just want them to know, like I am a real person. I'm super chill. I do love reporting in this community. This community means a lot to me. And besides that, just maybe that I'm going to do my best to report as best as I can and honestly for this community. Hobby-wise, talk to me about whatever. I love a good book. I love me some dogs. So yeah, that's about it.
Reading anything good recently?
I recently read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it was a lot. So it took me a second to get through that, but I'm reading this book called Babel. I haven't gotten too far in that.
Talk to me about, you are someone, you grew up here, this is your home, so obviously you know it really well. Yeah. Why does it matter for journalists to be kind of integrated into their communities in the way that you are?
I think it's important because not only like will you be able to see them as like a news source or like as a news source or like a witness to what's happening in the community, but you also get to know the community members and kind of get to be friends with them and understand like the ins and outs of it somewhat, and grow those bonds and connections with these people, because that's important. Because if you don't have that, like you need to have that to have like a good relationship with the community members, to be able to talk to them and for them to be able to trust you.
Zoe, thank you for doing this.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks to Zoe for taking the time to chat with me, and thank you for listening. You can catch her on Local 6 at 5 and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.